The large alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It shimmered with a blue light that seemed impossible according to human science. 17 different alien races had worked together to build this ship. They called themselves the Galactic Consual, and they had come to meet humans for the first time. Senior Delegate Jin Ho stood on the bridge of the ship. He was tall with gray skin and 4 arms. His large eyes blinked as he looked at the blue and green planet below. Such a primitive world, Jin Ho said to his aide Hana. Their technology is at least 500 years behind ours. Hana nodded. She had 6 eyes and skin that changed color with her mood. Right now it was a confident purple. They still use rocket fuel to reach orbit, she said. And they have only settled on their own moon and Mars. The report says they fight many wars, among themselves. Jin Ho sighed. Another species that will need our protection. Send the first contact message. Down on Earth, alarms rang in every military base. Radar operators stared at their screens in shock. A ship larger than anything humans had ever built had appeared from nowhere. In the Korean-based United Earth Defense Command, Admiral Lee paced back and forth. He was a serious man with short gray hair and a face that rarely smiled. "What do we know about them?" he asked. A young officer named Subin looked up from her computer. "They're broadcasting a message in perfect English, sir. They want to meet with Earth's leaders." Admiral Lee frowned. "Perfect English? How would they know our language?" "They say they've been studying us for years, sir." The Admiral didn't like that. "Prepare the diplomatic team and put our defense systems on alert, just in case." 3 hours later, Admiral Lee and Subin waited in a large conference room. The United Nations had chosen them to represent Earth. Subin had been picked because she was Earth's best linguist and diplomat. A flash of light filled the room. When it faded, Jin Ho and Hana stood there. "Greetings, humans," Jin Ho said, his 4 arms spread wide. "I am Senior Delegate Jin Ho of the Galactic Consual, representing 17 advanced civilizations." Admiral Lee stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. I am Admiral Lee, and this is our chief diplomat, Subin." Subin bowed slightly. "We are honored by your visit." Jin Ho looked around the room with a hint of disappointment. "Your technology is quite quaint, but do not worry. The Consual has helped many developing species like yours." Admiral Lee's face hardened. "Developing? We have split the atom, mapped our genome, and begun to explore our solar system." Jin Ho laughed. It sounded like bells ringing. "My dear human, my personal spacecraft has more computing power than your entire planet, but that's why we're here." He touched a device on his wrist and a hologram appeared showing the galaxy. "The Consual offers Earth-protected status. We will guide your development and protect you from more dangerous species." Subin stepped forward. "Thank you for your offer. But what exactly does protected status mean?" Hana's skin turned a bright yellow. "It means we will establish outposts on your world. We will monitor your technology development and ensure you don't create anything that might destabilize the galactic peace." "You want to control us," Admiral Lee said. It wasn't a question. Jin Ho's 4 hands moved in a pattern that might have been calming in his culture. "We prefer to think of it as mentoring. You can continue your lives mostly as normal, but certain technologies will be restricted for your own safety." Admiral Lee's face grew red. "And if we refuse?" "Oh," Jin Ho said with another bell-like laugh. "All developing worlds accept our protection. It's for the best, really." Subin tried to keep her voice calm. "Perhaps we could discuss specific terms." Jin Ho cut her off. "Speaking of developing worlds, we've already established monitoring stations near your colony attempts on Mars and your moon. They were quite primitive, but charming. We've also contained several of your unmanned probes that wandered too far. For study. You've been interfering with our missions?" Admiral Lee's voice was dangerously quiet. "Without our knowledge or consent?" "Interference? No. Think of it as child-proofing the galaxy for you." Jin Ho's tone was kind, but his words stung. "Your species is young and aggressive. History shows us that without guidance, species like yours often destroy themselves or others. Subin placed a hand on Admiral Lee's arm as she saw his anger rising. We appreciate your concern, but humanity has its own path. Your path is clear, Hana interrupted, her skin now a bright orange. Join the Consual as a protected species or remain isolated in your little solar system. Those are the options the Consual presents to all developing worlds. Admiral Lee stood up straight. There is another option. We reject your protection and continue our own development without your interference. Jinho's eyes widened in surprise. That would be most unwise. The galaxy is full of dangers you cannot imagine. We've faced dangers before, Admiral Lee said. And we've survived. Jinho looked at Hana, then back at the humans. Perhaps we've started on the wrong foot. Let us explain the benefits of Consual protection more clearly. I think we understand perfectly, Admiral Lee said. He pointed to the door. This meeting is over. If you want to talk to us as equals, we'll listen. Otherwise, Earth makes its own decisions. Jinho seemed genuinely confused. But you're not our equals. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your species still fights over resources and territory. You're barely unified as a planet. Maybe so, Subin said quietly. But we value our independence. Jinho sighed deeply. Very well. We will give you time to reconsider. The Consual is patient. We will return in 1 Earth year for your answer. He touched his wrist device again. And, know this, Hana added as her skin turned a deep blue. No species has ever refused Consual protection and prospered. You would be wise to accept our generous offer. With another flash of light, the aliens vanished. Admiral Lee turned to Subin, his face grim. Contact every major nation. We need to meet immediately. You think they're a threat? Subin asked. I think they've already decided our future without asking us, Admiral Lee said. And I won't let that stand. If they've been containing our ships and monitoring our colonies, who knows what else they've done? Subin nodded slowly. They see us as children. Then it's time to show them we've grown up. Admiral Lee looked out the window at the stars. We have 1 year to prepare, and something tells me we'll need every minute of it. As they left the conference room, neither of them noticed the small device Jinho had left behind. It blinked silently, recording everything and transmitting back to the Consual ship above Earth. In orbit, Jinho watched the humans with curiosity. Such a strange reaction. Most species gratefully accept our protection. They'll come around, Hana said, her skin now a confident green. They have no choice. What could primitive humans possibly do against the might of the Consual? Jinho nodded, but something about the human admiral's eyes bothered him. There had been no fear there. Only determination. Keep monitoring them, he ordered. I want to know everything about these humans before we return. 5 years passed since the first meeting with the Galactic Consual. On the surface, Earth seemed quiet and unchanged. The Consual had classified humans as a developing world of limited concern in their vast database. They set up small outposts near human colonies on Mars and the Moon, watching from a distance. But deep beneath the Korean mountains, a different story was unfolding. Engineer Tae wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the alien device on his workbench. The small silver object had been taken from a Consual monitoring probe. Around him, hundreds of scientists and engineers worked in a massive underground facility. Any progress? Asked Hyun, his partner. She had dark circles under her eyes from working 3 days straight. Tae nodded slowly. I think I understand how their energy converter works now. It's not magic, it's just science we haven't discovered. Yet, Hyun smiled. Good. Admiral Lee wants updates by tomorrow. The facility they worked in was part of the Earth Defense Initiative, a secret global program created after the Consual's visit. While pretending to be primitive and harmless, humanity had been busy. 7 levels below Tae and Hyun's lab, Admiral Lee stood in a war room with leaders from around the world. His hair had more gray now, and new lines marked his face. The Consual believes we accepted their terms, he said, pointing to a map showing alien outposts. They think we're behaving like good, obedient primitives. A general from Brazil nodded. Their patrols have become predictable. They check our outer colonies once every 3 months. They don't even send large ships anymore. Perfect, Admiral, Lee said. Complacency makes them vulnerable. What's our progress? A scientist tapped her tablet, and a hologram appeared showing a sleek spaceship unlike any human design seen publicly. Project Defiance is ahead of schedule, she said. We've built 3 prototypes using the reversed engineered Consual technology. They're hidden in the asteroid belt where the Consual rarely patrols. And the weapon systems? Asked Admiral Lee. Better than we hoped. By combining our military experience with their technology, we've created something unique, something they won't expect. Admiral Lee allowed himself a small smile. And our spy? The room grew quiet. Everyone knew he meant Ambassador Subin, who had taken a dangerous position on the Consual space station near Jupiter. Her last message came in yesterday, said a communications officer. The Consual still believes she's there to learn from them as a humble student. They have no idea she's gathering intelligence. Meanwhile, on the Consual station, Subin sat in her small quarters, carefully writing notes in a special code. She had changed in the 5 years since first contact. Her face was thinner, her eyes constantly alert. The Consual had allowed a few humans to visit their outposts as a cultural exchange. They thought they were teaching primitive humans about advanced civilization. They had no idea Subin memorized everything she saw. A soft chime indicated someone at her door. Subin quickly hid her notes and pressed a button to open the door. Jinho stood there, still impressive with his forearms and tall frame. He had been promoted after the successful containment of Earth. Ambassador Subin, I hope I'm not disturbing you, he said. Subin bowed slightly. Not at all, High Delegate Jinho. I was just reviewing today's lessons. Jinho nodded with satisfaction. You humans learn quickly, despite your limitations. Are you enjoying your stay with us? It's very educational, Subin said carefully. We have much to learn from the Consual. Indeed. Jinho entered her room and looked around. I've been very pleased with Earth's cooperation these past 5 years. Some members of the Consual worried you might be difficult. Subin kept her face calm. We realized the wisdom of your guidance. Jinho made a gesture with his upper arms that showed approval. As expected. All species eventually do. He pointed to a star chart on her wall. Your next lesson will cover our faster-than-light technology. Very basic principles only, of course. Such knowledge must be given slowly to developing species. Of course, Subin said. We wouldn't want to advance too quickly. Jinho laughed his bell-like laugh. Exactly. Too much technology too fast leads to disaster. We've seen it happen. But don't worry, in perhaps 200 years, humans might be ready for space travel beyond your solar system. So generous, Subin said, fighting to keep the sarcasm from her voice. After Jinho left, Subin locked her door and pulled out a small device hidden in her shoe. She quickly typed a message. FTL training tomorrow. We'll collect final data. Project Defiance should wait no longer. Back on Earth, Tae and Hyun had a breakthrough. They stood in a test chamber, watching as a small engine glowed with blue energy. It works, Hyun shouted, hugging Tae tightly. We've done it. Tae stared at the engine in amazement. We've improved it. Their design wastes energy. Ours is 20% more efficient. The door opened and Admiral Lee walked in. His eyes widened at the sight of the working engine. Is that what I think it is? He asked. Hyun nodded excitedly. Yes, sir. We've successfully created our first faster-than-light engine based on Consual technology, but we've made it better. Admiral Lee walked around the engine slowly. How much better? Their ships can jump 8 light-years at a time, Tae explained. Ours can do 10, maybe 12 with some fine-tuning. And it's smaller than theirs, Hyun added. We can put it on ships half the size the Consual would need. Admiral Lee's normally serious face broke into a rare, full smile. Can you build more? We already have the parts for 20, Tay said. With the factories working at full capacity, we could have 100 within 6 months. In orbit around Jupiter, Jin-Ho met with his advisors. On a large screen, they watched a small human transport ship traveling between Mars and Earth. So primitive, said one advisor named Q. Their ships are so slow and inefficient. Jin-Ho nodded. Yes, but notice they've increased flights between their colonies. They're expanding within their system. Should we be concerned? Asked another advisor. Hardly, Jin-Ho laughed. Let them play with their rockets. Even at their current rate of development, they won't be a concern for the Consual for at least 3 centuries. Q looked at the data more closely. Some of their ships are traveling to the asteroid belt. What are they doing there? Mining, probably, Jin-Ho said dismissively. Resources for their growing colonies. Nothing important. What Jin-Ho didn't know was that those ships carried parts and workers to secret construction facilities hidden inside large asteroids. There, the first fleet of human warships was taking shape. In one such asteroid base, Captain Min walked through a massive construction bay. Above him, the nearly completed form of the EDS Defiance hung in low gravity. It looked nothing like traditional human ships. Its sleek lines and unusual angles reflected both human innovation and Consual influence. First Officer June walked beside him, reading from a tablet. Engine installation complete. Weapons systems at 90%. We're ahead of schedule, Captain. Min looked up at the ship with pride. How long until it's ready for a test flight? 2 weeks, June said. Maybe less. Min nodded. Good. I have a feeling we'll need it sooner rather than later. He didn't know how right he was. In that moment, a Consual patrol ship was changing course, headed toward a human colony transport that had strayed too close to one of their monitoring stations. What would happen next would change the galaxy forever. The human colony transport horizon moved slowly through space near Proxima Centauri. It carried 200 families ready to start life on humanity's newest settlement. Captain Jiwan stood on the bridge, looking at the distant star that would be their new sun. How long until we reach the colony site? She asked her navigator. 3 days at current speed, he replied. All systems normal. Jiwan nodded. Before joining the colony mission, she had been a military officer. Old habits made her cautious. Run another scan of the area. The Consual doesn't patrol here often, but I want to be safe. The navigator tapped his screen. Suddenly, his face went pale. Captain, I'm detecting a ship approaching fast. It's Consual design. Jiwan's body tensed. Send an alert to Earth. Now. On the Consual patrol ship, Captain Q looked at the human transport with annoyance. They're outside their approved travel zone again. These humans constantly test our patience. His second-in-command checked the database. The ship is designated as a colony transport, unarmed according to our scans. Q sighed. Disable their engines. We'll board them and relocate the humans to a proper controlled habitat. They can't just settle wherever they please. The Consual. Ship fired a pulse that hit the Horizon's engines. On the human ship, lights flickered and systems shut down. We've lost main power, reported the navigator. Emergency systems only. Jiwan grabbed the ship's communication system. Attention all colonists. This is not a drill. Prepare for possible boarding action. All former military personnel report. To security stations, she turned to her crew. Did our message get to Earth? Yes, Captain, but it will take hours for any help to arrive. Jiwan's jaw tightened. Then we'll have to hold them off ourselves. The Consual ship moved alongside the human transport. Q prepared a boarding team of 10 officers. Remember, these are primitives. Be firm but not cruel. They don't understand galactic law yet. Back on Earth, Admiral Lee was in the command center when the alert came through. He read the message twice, his face growing dark with anger. The Consual has attacked a colony transport, he told his officers. They're likely boarding it now. The Horizon is unarmed, said a young officer. They have families aboard, children. Admiral Lee made his decision. Contact Captain Min. The Defiance launches now. In the asteroid base, Captain Min was running a final system check when the order came through. He turned to First Officer June. "It's time," he said simply. Within minutes, the crew boarded the ship. The Defiance, still untested in real combat, hummed with power as its engines came online. "All systems ready," reported June. "Jump drive at full capacity." Min sat in the captain's chair. "Set coordinates for Proxima Centauri. Prepare to jump." The Defiance moved out of the asteroid hangar. Its sleek, dark hull reflected no light. It looked like a shadow against the stars. "Jump in 3, 2, 1, called June. The space around the ship seemed to bend. Then, in a flash of blue light, the Defiance vanished. Aboard the Horizon, Jiwan had gathered 30 former soldiers among the colonists. They had limited weapons, mostly tools converted to fight. "They'll come through the main airlock," she told her people. "We form a defensive line here. Remember your training." The airlock doors began to glow red as the Consual cutting tools burned through. Jiwan raised her makeshift weapon. "For Earth," she said quietly. The doors opened, and Consual officers in sleek armor stepped through. Their leader looked surprised to see humans waiting for them. "Put down your primitive weapons," he ordered. "By authority of the Galactic Consual, this ship and its occupants are being relocated to an authorized habitat." "This ship and its people are under Earth protection," Jiwan replied firmly. "Leave now." The Consual officer laughed. "Earth protection? Your planet can barely reach this star system. You have no authority here." He raised his weapon. "Now move aside or we'll be forced to stun you." Suddenly, a massive shockwave hit both ships. The Consual officers stumbled. Jiwan grabbed a handrail to stay upright. "What was that?" demanded the Consual leader. His communicator beeped urgently. "Sir, another ship has appeared. It's human design, but our sensors show it's using modified Consual technology. That's impossible." Outside in space, the Defiance had arrived. It hung against the stars, its weapons ready. On the Consual patrol ship, Captain Q stared at his screen in disbelief. The ship that had appeared from nowhere looked like nothing he had ever seen. It had elements of human design, but also clearly used technology that should be far beyond human capability. "Scan it again," he ordered. "That can't be a human warship." His officer looked up, fear in his eyes. "The scan confirms it, sir. It's human-built, but it's using our technology." "How is that possible?" Q had no answer. "Open communications." On the Defiance, Captain Min received the call. "Put them on screen," he ordered. Captain Q's image appeared. His alien features couldn't hide his shock. "This is Captain Q of the Galactic Consual. Identify yourself." Min stood tall. "Captain Min of the Earth Defense Ship Defiance. You have attacked and boarded a human transport without provocation. Withdraw your boarding party immediately." Q's eyes narrowed. "That ship violated Consual territory, and more importantly, you appear to be using technology far beyond your species' development level. Explain yourself." "We don't answer to the Consual," Min replied coldly. "Now release our ship, or we will take action." Q laughed, but it sounded forced. "With one ship? You may have stolen some of our technology, but you can't possibly think you can challenge a Consual vessel." Min looked to June, who nodded. "Target their weapon systems only." The Defiance's weapons charged with a blue glow. Before the Consual ship could react, a precise beam hit its main weapon array. The energy burst was perfectly calibrated, powerful enough to disable but not destroy. On the Consual ship, control panels exploded in showers of sparks. Q was thrown from his chair. "Weapons offline," shouted his officer. "How did they know exactly where to hit us?" Q pulled himself up, his face showing a new emotion, fear. "Return fire." "We can't, sir. All weapons are disabled." On the Horizon, the Consual boarding party received urgent orders to retreat. The leader looked at Jiwan with confusion. "This isn't over," he said as they backed toward the airlock. Jiwan smiled. "I think it is." After the Consual officers left, The Defiance sent a small team to the horizon to help with repairs. The colonists gathered around the viewing windows, watching in awe as the human warship protected them. "I didn't know we had ships like that," one colonist said. "Neither did the Consul," Jiwan replied with a smile. On the Defiance, Captain Min opened a channel to the Consul ship. Captain Q's face appeared, now showing a mixture of anger and disbelief. "This incident is over," Min said firmly. "The horizon will continue to its destination. Your ship will be allowed to leave once they're safely away." "This is a violation of Consual authority," Q protested. "Your primitive species can't possibly—" "We're not primitive," Min interrupted. "We've just been patient, and that patience has ended. Tell your leaders, humans will take care of our own people from now on." Min closed the channel and turned to June. "Send a message to Earth. Operation Defiance was successful. The Consul has seen what we can do." Aboard the damaged Consul ship, Q sent an urgent message to Consul headquarters. His hands shook as he recorded it. "High Delegate Jin Ho," he began. "I have encountered something impossible. The humans have built a warship using our technology. They disabled my ship with one shot. They knew exactly where to hit us." He paused. "Sir, I believe we have greatly underestimated these humans." As the message traveled across space toward Consual headquarters, the Defiance escorted the horizon to its colony destination. The first test of human resolve against the Consual had been a complete success. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The message from Captain Q reached Consual headquarters 3 days later. The central chamber of the Consual was a massive room with 17 different sections, one for each member species. High Delegate Jin Ho sat in the most prominent position, his forearms folded across his chest. As the recording played showing the human ship Defiance disabling the Consual patrol vessel with a single shot, the chamber fell silent. When it ended, the silence lasted for several seconds. Then everyone began talking at once. "Impossible," shouted a delegate from the insect-like Zarin species. "Humans cannot have such technology." "The recording must be fake," suggested another. Jin Ho raised his hands for silence. When the room quieted, he turned to his military advisor, Day, who had been analyzing the data. "Tell me this is a mistake," Jin Ho said. Day shook his head. His skin was a worried shade of gray. "The data is real, High Delegate. Humans have somehow adapted our technology, and not just copied it, they've improved it." A murmur of disbelief ran through the chamber. Jin Ho leaned forward. "Improved? Explain." Day touched a control, and a hologram appeared showing the Defiance. "Their ship is smaller than our equivalent vessels, yet the energy readings are higher. The weapon they used was precisely calibrated to disable without destroying. Our own weapons lack that level of control." "How is this possible?" Jin Ho demanded. "Humans were primitive 5 years ago." Day hesitated. "I believe we severely underestimated them, sir. While they appeared technologically behind us, their military development was more advanced in some ways. They seem to have combined their combat experience with our technology to create something new." "Are there more of these ships?" asked a delegate from the back of the room. Day nodded grimly. "Our long-range scans have detected at least a dozen more vessels under construction in their asteroid belt. Each appears to incorporate Consual technology." Jin Ho stood up, his usual calm completely gone. "This cannot be allowed. If primitives can take our technology and improve it, the entire balance of power in the galaxy is at risk." He turned to Fleet Commander Sun, a stern figure standing nearby. "Prepare our most advanced battle fleet. We will go to Earth and show these humans the true might of the Consual. They must be reminded of their place." Sun bowed. "How many ships, High Delegate?" 20 of our finest warships," Jin Ho said. "Enough to overwhelm any resistance and demonstrate our power." As Jin Ho stormed out of the chamber, Day followed him into a private corridor. "Sir," Day said quietly, "perhaps we should learn more before taking aggressive action. If humans can adapt our technology so quickly, confronting them might—" "Are you suggesting we fear primitives?" Jinho snapped. Humans have existed for a mere blink of galactic time. The Consual has maintained peace for thousands of years. We will not be challenged by upstarts. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Lee received the report of the Defiance's successful mission. In the underground command center, he addressed the leaders of Earth's nations via secure video. The Consual now knows we have advanced technology, he said. Their response will be swift and likely aggressive. Can we defend ourselves? Asked the President of the United African Nations. Admiral Lee nodded to Tay and Hyun, who had been invited to the meeting. Tay stepped forward. The Defiance was just the beginning, he explained. We have 17 more ships ready now, and another 30 nearing completion. Hyun added, each incorporates improvements to the original Consual designs. Our ships are faster and more efficient. Most importantly, they're built specifically for combat, while Consual vessels are designed for multiple purposes. What about their numbers? Asked another leader. The Consual controls much of the galaxy. They must have thousands of ships. They do, Admiral Lee acknowledged. But most are scattered across 17 systems, and they're complacent. They haven't fought a real war in centuries. A message chimed on his console. After reading it, his expression became even more serious. Ambassador Subin has just sent word. The Consual is dispatching 20 warships to Earth. They'll arrive in 3 days. The leaders looked worried, but Admiral Lee remained calm. This is actually fewer ships than we expected. It confirms what Subin has been reporting. The Consual is overconfident. They think 20 ships will be enough to intimidate us. He touched a control, and a holographic map appeared showing Earth's solar system. We've been preparing for this moment for 5 years, he said. Our ships are in position, hidden throughout the system. The Consual expects to find a frightened primitive species. Instead, they'll find us ready for them. 3 days later, Fleet Commander Sun led 20 of the most advanced Consual warships toward Earth. Each ship was massive, elegant, and powerful. Sun stood on the bridge of the flagship, confident in the overwhelming display of force. The humans will surrender immediately when they see our fleet, he told his officers. They may have stolen some of our technology, but they cannot stand against the full might of the Consual. As they approached Earth's solar system, his sensor officer reported, "No signs of human defenses, Commander. Their space seems unprotected, except for a few primitive satellites." Sun smiled. "As expected, take us into orbit around their planet. Prepare to broadcast our demands." The Consual fleet moved deeper into the solar system, passing Jupiter without incident. As they approached Mars, Sun ordered the fleet to slow down. "Something doesn't feel right," he said. "Scan again, maximum range." The officer complied. "Still, nothing, sir. Wait, I'm detecting something behind Phobos, one of the Martian moons." Before he could say more, a human ship appeared from behind the moon. It was smaller than the Consual vessels, but clearly of advanced design. Then another appeared. And another. Sun stared in shock as human vessels seemed to materialize from nowhere, from behind moons, from within asteroid clusters, from hidden bases on planets and moons. Soon his fleet was surrounded by over 40 human warships. "Impossible," Sun whispered. "Where did they all come from?" His communications officer called out, "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." On the screen appeared Admiral Lee, his face calm and determined. Beside him stood Subin, no longer pretending to be a humble student of the Consual. "Fleet Commander Sun," Admiral Lee said, "you entered Earth space with a battle fleet, an act we consider hostile, but we are willing to talk. Power down your weapons as a sign of good faith." Sun's face flushed with anger. "This is Consual territory by right of galactic law. You will stand down your illegally created vessels immediately or face destruction." "Admiral," Lee didn't even blink. "This is Earth space. We claimed it long before we knew of your existence. We'd prefer peace, but we're prepared for the alternative." On the Defiance, now commanding the human fleet's forward position, Captain Min watched the exchange with First Officer June. "They still don't understand," June said quietly. Min nodded. 5 years of preparation, and they still see us as primitives. The largest human ship in the fleet, The EDS determination moved to the front of the formation. On its bridge, Admiral Lee gave the order. All ships, defensive positions. If the Consual fires first, disable their weapon systems only. We want to end this without bloodshed. Sun saw the human ships moving into a complex formation he didn't recognize. His tactical officer looked confused as he studied the readings. Sir, the human ships are taking positions that maximize their defensive coverage while maintaining optimal firing positions. This is a highly advanced combat formation. For the first time, Sun felt a flicker of doubt. Then he remembered who he was. A fleet commander of the mighty Consual facing mere humans. Target their largest vessel, he ordered. One shot will show them the difference between stolen technology and true Consual power. As his weapons officer prepared to fire, alarms suddenly blared across his ship. One by one, the weapon systems throughout the Consual fleet shut down. What's happening? Sun demanded. His technical officer looked up in horror. The humans, they've somehow accessed our command systems. They're shutting down our weapons remotely. On Earth, Tay and Hyun watched their computer screens with satisfaction. The backdoor program they had discovered in Consual systems was working perfectly. 5 years of studying their technology, Tay said with a smile, and they never changed their security protocols. The Consual fleet hung in space, surrounded and defenseless. Sun stared at the screen showing Admiral Lee, finally understanding the truth. The humans hadn't just caught up to Consual technology. They had surpassed it. Fleet Commander Sun had never felt such shame in his long career. His mighty Consual fleet hung in space, surrounded by human ships and unable to fire a single weapon. 5 hours had passed since the humans had somehow disabled their systems, remotely. Have we restored any weapon capabilities? Sun asked his chief engineer. No, Commander. Every time we fix one system, they shut it down again. It's like they know our technology better than we do. Sun stared at the view screen. The human ships maintained their positions, neither attacking nor withdrawing. Finally, he made his decision. Open a channel to their Admiral Lee, he ordered. On the EDS determination, Admiral Lee received the call. Subin stood beside him, her face showing no emotion as Sun's image appeared on screen. Admiral Lee, Sun said formally. I request a meeting to discuss terms. Lee nodded once. My ship in 1 hour. You may bring 2 officers. When the communication ended, Subin turned to Lee. He didn't like saying that. Pride is a dangerous thing, Lee replied. It made the Consual underestimate us for 5 years. Now they're paying the price. 1 hour later, Sun and 2 senior officers transported to the determination. They were escorted to a conference room where Admiral Lee waited with Subin and Captain Min Sun looked around the human ship with poorly hidden surprise. The technology was clearly advanced with systems and designs he didn't recognize. Welcome aboard, Admiral Lee said. Please sit. When they were seated, Sun spoke first. How did you do it? How did humans advance so quickly? Admiral Lee allowed himself a small smile. You gave us no choice. When your delegate Jinho first visited Earth, he made it clear that the Consual saw us as primitives to be controlled. We decided to prove him wrong. But this level of advancement in just 5 years is impossible, argued one of Sun's officers. Subin leaned forward. Your first mistake was thinking that technological advancement follows only one path. Humans developed differently than the Consual. While you focused on peaceful expansion over thousands of years, we spent centuries fighting each other. Our warlike history became our advantage, Admiral Lee continued. When we studied your technology, we immediately saw military applications you had never considered. Your ships are built for exploration and diplomacy. Ours are built for combat. Frowned. And the remote shutdown of our weapons? Captain Min smiled slightly. You can thank Ambassador Subin for that. While pretending to be your humble student, she identified weaknesses in your systems. You were a spy, Sun said to Subin, sounding betrayed. I was protecting my people, she replied calmly. Just as you would protect yours. Admiral Lee placed a data tablet on the table. These are our terms. The Consual will recognize Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory. We will have full rights to expand throughout our solar system and beyond. All Consual monitoring stations in our territory will be removed. Sun read the terms, his face darkening. The Consual has ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. We cannot simply— You can and you will, Lee interrupted. Your fleet is disabled. We could destroy it entirely if we wished. Instead, we're offering peace as equals. The Consual will never accept humans as equals, Sun said stiffly. Our civilization is far older and more advanced than yours. Is it? Lee asked. He nodded to Min, who activated a holographic display. It showed detailed schematics of both Consual and human ships side by side. Our engines are 20% more efficient than yours, Min explained. Our weapon systems have precision yours lack, and our ships require half the crew thanks to automation you never developed. As the evidence mounted, Sun fell silent. Finally, he looked up at Lee. I cannot make this decision alone. I must consult with the High Delegate. Of course, Lee agreed. But know this, our terms are not negotiable, equals or enemies. The choice is yours. 2 days later, a small diplomatic vessel arrived from Consual headquarters. High Delegate Jin Ho himself had come to address the situation. A meeting was arranged in neutral space, a station orbiting Earth's moon. Jin Ho entered the meeting room with none of his former arrogance. The defeat of his fleet had shaken the Consual deeply. Across the table sat Admiral Lee, Subin, and a team of human scientists including Tae and Hyun. When we first met 5 years ago, Jin Ho began, I believed humans were primitives in need of guidance. I was wrong, and my error has cost the Consual greatly. We never wanted conflict, Admiral Lee said. We only wanted to be treated as equals. Jin Ho nodded slowly. The Consual has existed for so long that we forgot what it means to face a true challenge. Your species has reminded us. He touched a device on his wrist and a hologram appeared showing the terms Admiral Lee had presented to Sun. The Consual accepts these terms, with one addition, Jin Ho said. We propose an exchange of knowledge, not as teacher and student but as equals with different perspectives. Subin raised an eyebrow. What knowledge do you offer? Medical technology that could extend human lifespans. Agricultural methods that could end hunger on your world. Clean energy that could heal your environment. And what do you want in return? Lee asked carefully. Jin Ho looked at Tae and Hyun. Your approach to innovation. Your engineers took our technology and improved it in ways we never imagined. The Consual has been stagnant for too long. Lee considered this. We will need guarantees. Other human colonies must be restored to self-governance immediately. Already done, Jin Ho assured him. And we offer one more thing, a permanent seat. On the Consual itself, your species has earned the right to help shape galactic policy. 6 months later, the first joint human Consual ship prepared for launch. Named Unity, it represented the new partnership between the former adversaries. Captain Jun stood on the bridge beside his Consual First Officer Yoon. Ready for departure, Captain, Yoon reported. Her skin glowed a soft blue of excitement. Jun nodded. Begin launch sequence. As the ship moved away from Earth's orbit, Jun looked at his crew. A mix of humans and Consual species working together. It was still strange to see, but it gave him hope. In the observation lounge of the orbital station, Jin Ho and Subin watched the Unity depart. Your species continues to surprise us, Jin Ho admitted. In just 1 year since our confrontation, humans have contributed more new ideas to the Consual than some member species have in centuries. Subin smiled. Perhaps that's why you found us so threatening. Not because we were primitive, but because we were different. A valid observation, Jin Ho said. The Consual has existed for thousands of years thinking we'd seen everything the universe could offer. We never imagined that the most valuable lesson in galactic politics would come from a species we initially dismissed as primitive. Perhaps that was our greatest mistake. Not a mistake, Subin replied. An opportunity for both our peoples. As they watched the Unity disappear into the distance, Beginning its mission of exploration, the Consual and humanity stood together as equals. At last, the galaxy would never be the same. On Earth, Admiral Lee stood at a podium before the United Earth Council. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for humanity," he said. "We have taken our place among the stars not through conquest, but by demanding respect when diplomacy failed." In the audience, Tay and Hyun sat beside Captain Min. Tay leaned over to his partner. "To think 5 years ago they thought we were primitives." Hyun smiled. "And now they're studying our designs." "It's a good reminder," Min said quietly. "Never judge by appearances. You never know when a seeming primitive might have a warship." "You didn't expect." The three of them laughed as humanity celebrated its new place in the galaxy, earned through determination, innovation, and the refusal to be underestimated ever again.